Oh my gosh. It's happening again. Welcome to another fan. Oh my gosh. I can hear myself speaking. That's weird. Things are weird. Everything's horrible. No, we're fine. Okay, welcome to another episode of Next to the Floor. My name is Arzad. I don't know how technology works, but here we are anyway, doing stuff. I'm joined by my main man right up here in this corner, Gary Nuxterry, aka Good Guy Gary. What's the good word?
The bird's the word. What's up? What's up? Long time no see, everybody.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about last week. You know, what did we do? What happened? We had practice, we were doing a whole bunch of things, and then we got done with work and rehearsing and stuff, and then both went home and then realized, oh crap, we completely forgot to put together an episode of Next to the Floor. So, sorry everyone. We're responsible adults with things that we've got going, doing and stuff. What's new, Gary? How are things?
Things are good, just started up Skyrim again, going through that journey again,
That was a game I played maybe like 5 minutes of, and then decided after those 5 minutes that there was just too much for me to do.
There's a lot.
Which is,
a lot. And
it's definitely like replayable, but
I mean, I'm a big fan of those games where you can just like do all of the side quests before your main quest, and just have all of the buffs before you hit the boss mode, and it's just like, oh, one arrow, dead.
If you're not level 99 before the first boss, are you even playing the game? That's the question I'm gonna pose to everyone. Are you even playing the game? I
was like that in Assassin's Creed. All the Assassin's Creed games, I would just, before you'd even go to a different town.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep. That's how I play, like World of Warcraft and things like that. Just do all the side quests, optional side quests, get all the way up, and then do the story quest later. It's the only way to play the game, truthfully. It just makes it flow a lot easier. I am very excited. I know we were talking about this last night in the car, but and sorry to everybody who's looking for, riveting conversations about, the advancement of Black lives and things along that nature. But, mental health is a big part of our prosperity as people, and we like to play video games, and so therefore, gosh darn it, we're going to talk about them. I am very excited for the game Back for Blood, which is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, which were two of the best games that have ever been created in the history of gaming, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah, Left 4 Dead, it's when you think of zombie games, that's the very first thing that pops into everybody's head is Left 4 Dead. Who was your favorite character in the original Left 4 Dead?
Oh man, I played a lot of Bill. And then the black guy. I forget what his name was.
You don't know his name?
Well, so here's the thing. The only character that I think anybody remembers from Left 4 Dead is Bill, because Bill has been featured in a whole boatload of other games outside of just Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, definitely.
What was his name, though? All I remember is
I'm looking it up right now.
he wore like
Francis, Bill, Zoe, and Lewis.
oh, Lewis. Yes. I remember he wore like khaki pants and like a button-down shirt.
Yeah, no, I played Zoe 100%.
Oh my
of the
God,
time.
Zoe.
I don't think I've ever played. I've maybe played Francis like a couple of times, but I mainly play Zoe.
Truthfully, I didn't really care who I played. I just was like, get me into this game. Get into it.
Okay, so on the flip side, what was your preferred zombie to play as?
I liked the jockey. I thought that he was fun, dynamic. Truthfully, I didn't get too big into like the PvP player versus player side of Left 4 Dead.
Oh, you were just the campaign.
I was a
campaign
campaign.
only.
Yeah, I'm very much like a PvE campaign only. PvP, there are too many tryhards in the world, and like I'm not trying to sweat while I'm playing a video game.
I see that.
I'm
Okay.
like
I
this
feel
is
that.
it's my relaxing downtime, and if I'm sweating, I want it to be for a reason.
Oh, but it was so satisfying playing as like the smoker that with the tongue.
Oh, with the
to grab something because like I had, with the tongue you go whoosh, whoosh. I had the best strategies. Man, R.I.P. the crew that I played with back then. I don't even remember them, man. Like we would come up the craziest strategies to because I mostly played PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the high scores on the campaign. Yeah. But anyways, I would always play as the smoker, and I would be the one that draws the guy away and stations himself like to where you can't shoot unless you like shoot the tongue. You can't shoot me unless you like shoot the tongue. So he'd be hanging off some roof somewhere, and then that's when hell breaks loose.
Yes.
And then the other,
Well,
shout out.
Here's what was going to happen, y'all viewers. We're obviously going to get Back 4 Blood when it comes out in full, I think in October. Gary's going to get it. I'm going to make him get it.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to make sure Steven gets it. And then we're going to have a day where we, one of our episodes where we're just playing Back 4 Blood and, chit-chatting about life and things. But speaking of, oh God, you said something and it triggered a thought in my mind. Now it's gone. I don't know. Speaking of something. It was real interesting. It was a real fun fact.
Well, I guess it's gone.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Can't have nice things. I remembered. Speaking of like horror genres and stuff like that, have you seen Candyman, the new one?
I have not.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
heard a lot about it, so I should.
See it, huh? Yes, and because I think this is another. It wasn't Jordan Peele who produced it, but I think he had a hand in it. Nia DaCosta. Oh yeah, he was one of the producers, Jordan Peele. So it's going to be a good one. But I highly recommend seeing this movie. It is so good. I think one of the things that Jordan Peele has done so well, and then in this case, Nia, I think it's Nia. Yeah, Nia DaCosta. They do so well is like highlighting in almost kind of like a banal way, the like day-to-day horrors that like people of color and Black people face. So if you've seen Get Out or Us, Them, Us, Them,
Us.
Us.
Yes.
Okay.
Us. Them.
Us. It's them or us. It's one of the two. Hold on. I think it's us.
I think it's us. It's us.
But, starting with those two... Oh, yeah, it's us. So starting with those two, you've got, like, Get Out, which is the, effectively, like, symbolizes the... in a kind of like crazy, grotesque ways, the like day-to-day horrors that Black people and people of color experience when confronting like their like white neighbors or white family members, things along those lines. Really well done, Jordan Peele. Genius as far as that's concerned. And then you have Us, which is kind of that same conversation but flipped on its head, wherein like the horrors and trials and tribulations that we as Black people and people of color face amongst ourselves in our community and the things that we put ourselves through. And then you've got Candyman, which, you know, was a genre-defining film. The original came out, I believe, in 1987. Let's see, Candyman came out in it came out in the early 90s. Doesn't matter. It was a freaking incredible movie starring the incomparable Tony Todd. But basically, you know, it's a story about the horrors of gentrification and
it was 92.
92, thank you. But the things that, like, again, Black people and people of color face as far as like gentrification and like the loss of their communities are concerned, it was really, really well done. And how I guess the storyline is like how that kind of loss turns us into our own form of bad guy, I guess. Like it causes our own community to like eat itself from within, hence like the story of Candyman, which like the backstory and the lore behind Candyman is freaking amazing. But this one that came out is like the spiritual successor to the original Candyman movie. It happens I think 30 years after the events of the first film. So it's all set in the same exact universe. It stays in the same exact like neighborhood. Believe it's the Cabrini Green Housing Project, which is an actual place in Chicago. And it basically follows the same. It picks up basically kind of where the last film left off, only 30 years later. And it is stunning. Absolutely stunning. It got, you know, I don't trust any of the reviews on like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, but on Rotten Tomatoes it got a 84%. IMDb got a 6.4. I thought it was really good. It's definitely like a horror movie made for Black people.
Finally.
No,
we had a couple. We've had a few.
Like what?
But like the horror, like
what?
The horror movies made for Black people.
Blade.
I mean, like the horror movies. No, it's not a horror movie. I'm talking about like we just recently like Get Out.
Get Out. Oh, like more recent.
Like,
understood. Yeah. Like the more recent branch of Black horror. You know, I think truthfully until recently we haven't really had like there was not a lot because there was not a lot of representation, right? And like I think
there was plenty.
Yeah,
like,
I mean most of the horror films that we had as Black people, I think, especially in like the 80s and 90s. I watched this really interesting video on that. I've got to go back and rewatch it, and we can probably talk about it in like one of our Halloween episodes or in October or something along those lines, since it'll be thematic.
Coming up, we're already talking about spooky stuff.
God, spooky stuff.
It's coming. We're already talking about spooky stuff.
Jesus. But
it's right around the corner.
I mean, like if you think about some of the first horror movies featuring Black people, you have like Tales from the Hood, you have Blackula, and then you have like the Leprechaun or Leprechaun in the Hood. So there hasn't been.
In the Hood, yeah.
Remember that was a mess. So there hasn't really been, truthfully, like a true to form, like truly black horror movie like ever until recently, and it's so like refreshing to see us breaking into that genre, which has like predominantly been, like it's been predominantly, and much of the film industry predominantly owned and like occupied by white voices, and it's, like a lot of those films like Blackula, Tales from the Hood are produced and written by like white people. So it's like giving a guise of like black experience through white eyes. But finally we have like producers and writers who are willing to like tell black stories and tales of black horror through the voices of black people, which is such an amazing thing.
That's awesome.
But anywho, off the topic of ooky spooky Halloween vibes.
What are you gonna be for Halloween?
Oh gosh, I have no clue. It's already time to start planning that because we are T minus. Oh gosh, I want to say we are T minus like 50 days till Halloween.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure something out.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of ideas formulated for the past year. So,
do you normally do a couple's costume, right?
Yeah, always.
Nice.
Always.
What are you thinking of being this year? Oh, weren't you talking about like a Rick and Morty?
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
Oh, sorry. Spoilers.
They'll find on in the Instagram.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't follow me, then my handle's down there. It's good.
Good guy, Gary.
It's all capital. It's all capital. I don't know why it's not capital.
It's all capital? Oh,
yeah,
God.
It's an underscore.
Yeah, those are all underscores. Oh,
good.
Yep. I've got all that. Don't y'all worry. I've got Gary. It's the hookup. Damn. Okay. Jesus. Fine. Let me fix this. It's underscored, just so everybody knows. I'm fixing it as we speak. Good underscore guy underscore Gary. Check him out on Instagram.
It's been like that for about a few episodes now.
Listen, you've had underscores the entire time. It's hard to see because, of the color. But,
you remember back in the day where you used to put like a lowercase x and a big X in the middle of your like your handles and then end with the big X and the little X?
I do. That's actually okay. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like red on my own podcast, but are you gonna call out my Twitch handle? Like right here, live on the air with all two of our viewers. You're just gonna sit there and just call me out like that? Wow, disrespectful. You know what? I'm muting Gary.
Honestly, I forgot it. I forgot that it was your handle.
Gary, you're getting.
I thought it was just. We're still in the 90s.
You're getting muted, and we're going to my screen. So anyway, let's talk about things. Oh my God, this is what. See, y'all. Let's talk about something really quick. So we're here having a great conversation about like Black empowerment. Good things happening in the world and in the universe, and Gary's gonna come along and just disrespect me on my own show in front of my plants, my herb garden, in front of, my sign, everything. And frankly, I'm not gonna stand for it. So speaking of, skin folk not being kinfolk, I unmuted you, Gary. So, guess who is, making claims of racism and, discrimination? Guess.
Is it our favorite friend?
It's our favorite friend, everybody's favorite Uncle Tom, Aunt Tom, Aunt Tamina, Candace Owen, everybody. Candace Owens. Yes, I'll take Candace Owens for 500, Alex. So,
let me Google this. I did not hear about this.
yeah, so, okay, so here's the deal. So, as we all know, Candace Owens, you know, the world's biggest waste of space. For no particular reason, you know, the woman's so black she wants to be white. She recently, you know, I think was exposed to COVID, or was trying to go get tested for COVID or something along those lines. And the site where she was going to go get tested for COVID refused to take her or treat her or even administer a test. And they sent her this letter. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up because it was freaking amazing. Candace Owens... COVID test denial. There we go. See, this is the great thing about Google. Despite them being our, you know, one of our many corporate overlords, it's super great because I can get all the information that I want. So here's what had happened. So, conservative pundit Candace Owens has been very vocal about her opposition to the COVID-19 vaccine and mask wearing. She often tweets that she's proud to be unvaccinated, even saying that no one in her family will ever touch the COVID-19 vaccine. This is a message for everyone out there. Please just go get vaccinated. I'm sick and tired. We're all sick and tired. Like, we could very easily just be over and done with this whole entire bit of bullshit if y'all just like stopped acting a fool and did the right thing. Anywho, if that decision not
people are so dumb,
right?
It's like
honestly, okay, we're gonna pause that conversation altogether because the sheer stupidity, and I know this is a constant conversation that we have here on this show, but like the sheer stupidity of people just knows no bounds.
And the thing is, they literally will die on this hill.
They have chosen to just die on this hill in a literal fashion because they can't be bothered to do the right thing. Yeah, I can understand like a mild form of skepticism. Like, well, will I admit, like in the very beginning when the first bits of like when the first vaccines went out, was I like a little bit like, this feels a little bit like the plot of I Am Legend, like a little bit too much like the plot of I Am Legend for my own like happiness.
What gave you that sense, though?
Well, you know, I think it was more of just like I had just not just seen the movie, but I saw the movie and then I watched it again during quarantine, and then they came out with the vaccine and I was like, let's just see what happens here. You know, like let's let, you know, all of the doctors and everybody get their vaccines first, and then if they all turn into like brain-eating zombies, then I know I will just like pass. But after a couple of months, nobody turned into brain-eating zombies. That was my limit. You know, I wasn't afraid.
But what about the microchips though?
I have no words for that one. That conversation just irks the shit at me. Like, y'all. So let's talk about like stupidity and that whole because that's just stupid. Y'all honestly think they are taking the time and energy to implant microchips into people knowing full well that, like, I don't know if anybody watching.
They're not even gonna be able to, they're not even gonna want to fund that.
Right. Like, for what? For what? For what?
When there's already resources put in place to do what they think will do, will a microchip in your skin will do with, like, they already have those infrastructure in place. You're holding a phone. There's internet. There's, like, towers there's
I don't know. Right.
everywhere.
I don't know if
Like,
you have
I'm
seen.
looking into a camera now.
Right.
On TV,
They're gonna know.
Internet.
Right.
I can just go on your Instagram. Like, I'm just kind of like,
Hello. So.
right.
Right.
Privacy.
So let's talk about it. I don't know. And they're the same chuckleheads who are concerned about getting a vaccine because of a microchip. Are the same exact people who will sit down and watch, unironically, an entire series of, like, NCIS, CSI, any of those shows, and then will simultaneously, just like our friend Physics here, 1138 said in the chat, will simultaneously hop on Amazon and purchase some fucking shit for their house with their credit card and have it sent to their home address. But you're concerned about a government tracking chip. That's your concern. And then in the same breath, forget that that their car that they purchased is registered through the Department of Motor Vehicles,
or, like, taxes.
Right, and that they pay taxes
leases, and state taxes. The state knows where you're at.
Right.
The federal government.
They know where you are
because they know your address, and if, like, they
like cat, But no, I don't want to get this vaccine because they're gonna put a microchip in my arm, and, like, y'all people just waking up dumb. Just dumb. And I say this all the time. You wake up, and you can wake up every single day and choose to be whatever you want to be in this world and in your life, and you are choosing actively to be dumb. Just a dummy. On your own accord. You said, you know what, today and every day I'm waking up and choosing dumb. So back to Candace Owens. That's all I gotta say on that. So so blah 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 blah. She never wants to get a COVID vaccine. But if that decision only affected her, then this wouldn't be much of a problem. But unfortunately, there are many people who cherish her opinion. Owens needed to get a COVID-19 test earlier this week, but was denied by Susanna Lee, co-founder of Aspen COVID Testing, because she actively encouraged the spread of the virus. I believe she needed one to go, like, do some sort of speaking agreement or something. Lee wrote, I just learned of this testing request, and as the owner of this business, I'm going to refuse this booking and deny service. We cannot support anyone who has proactively worked to make this pandemic worse by spreading misinformation, politicizing, and discouraging the wearing of masks, and actively dissuading people from receiving life-saving vaccinations, the email continued. Lee then directed her to a free testing facility at City Hall. Owen shared the letter on Twitter, calling Lee a danger to the Aspen community. Hold on, let me read Candace Owens' response, because it's, all sorts of, as one can only guess, fuckery.
She's probably gonna using it. She's a pan. Just continue. Sorry.
No, it's okay. As she, I think, put out an Instagram live post where she, tends to do that. Basically saying that it's just fascinating. It's interesting that, the only black, like one of the only black women in Aspen, Colorado, would not be allowed a COVID test, and blah, 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 blah.
I love how, like, that's her response when, like, she specifically puts why she's denying her.
And yet, somehow, some way, she can turn around and, like, in previous posts say, you know, not everything's about race. Stop trying to make everything about race. It's these same chuckleheads talking out their side of the neck, saying all of this racist ass shit, politicizing things that don't need to be political, who say, oh, well, not everything's about race, blah, 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 not everything's about race. And then when when the shoe's on the other foot, oh, now all of a sudden it's about race, even though when it's not about race, it's just about your stupidity and the fact that you have made this global pandemic that we're in significantly worse because of the propaganda and misinformation that you've been spreading to your community. Like, that's it, point blank. Done.
And to some people, that's like viewed as an opinion and not fact. They're gonna be like, "Oh, well, that's your opinion." I'm like, "No, that's not our opinion. That's fact."
And even if it was the opinion, like, even if that was your opinion, that doesn't automatically, like, stop the argument from being true. Like, yeah, like, and that's it. That's
You know what? She's gonna keep being like this, and everybody who is like this is always gonna keep being like
they're
this
just gonna.
because it makes them money.
Yeah, yep. It's all about her bottom line. Speaking of money, we're gonna. Oh, here we go. Here's the transition that everybody was waiting for. The segue. So as we all know, today is 9/12, the day after 9/11. So Gary, where were you on 9/11? We're gonna go here. We're going here.
I was in school. Not gonna say what grade because I don't want to age myself. But I was in school and it happened, and we were eating lunch. And all the lights were off. They turned all the lights off for some reason. And yeah, and they turned all the TVs on. We didn't really know what was going on. We just knew something was happening, and we all had to be quiet, you know, for like the whole day. And they turned on the TVs in like every single classroom, and then we were just like watching it, which is kind of crazy, you know, because at that time we were young, and then they're like, we need to watch the news, you know. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I remember that day, like, super clearly. Like, super clearly.
I do also remember that day very, very clearly and vividly in my mind brain. Where was I? I was in I will say it. I was in 7th grade. I'm not afraid to date myself on that end. I was in 7th grade. I was in Mr. Jones' English class. I think that was my first period. And, you know, I'm from upstate New York, so I think from where I lived, it's probably like 2.5 hours away from the city. So because of that proximity, I think the tension was a lot higher. As you know, granted, I lived in a small town, but a lot of the town's like workforce and infrastructure did a lot of traveling down to New York City because there was a lot of like IBM. What is the company that makes helicopters for the military?
Lockheed
Martin. Yeah.
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah. So they're in upstate New York near me, but so a lot of the workers like from my town who work for IBM or Lockheed Martin would also like have to commute down towards the city. So I think tensions were very, very high. And it definitely was a hell of a day. It's also my mom's birthday yesterday. So hi, mom, happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday!
birthday, mom. My mom is one of our.
I was there when he called you.
Yes, you were. I called my mom yesterday. Of course, I'm not a monster. But you know, I think about like as a country, right? The our response to 9/11 and our continued response to 9/11 because you know we had a big event yesterday. It's one of our first events back. I'm not going to say post COVID, but you know, mid COVID. Um, and we had a moment of silence during it for, you know, all of the victims of 9/11. And it made me think of like how, um, I guess, how small minded we are as a country as far as like the effects of 9/11, right? You know, I am saddened for the loss of the like 2,470 some odd people who died in the Twin Towers. But I also, you know, I can't say that I'm more or less, but I also know that I'm sad for the millions of civilian casualties, right? Both American and like Iraqi, Afghani, um, like all of those lives that were lost in the ensuing 20 years of war that we, you know, propagated. So, yeah, that was my reflection. Sorry to take such a somber tone, but, um, you know,
No, it's crazy. It's a lot of like this conversation. A lot of people having this conversation with like current events that are happening in Afghanistan,
yeah.
and our withdrawal from Afghanistan. A lot of people are thinking about that, and in like 20 years, you know.
And mind you, the craziest part, there are people alive today. Well, first of all, this is like speaking of dating oneself. Um, One of our coworkers spilled the beans yesterday or the day before that he was born in 1998. What?
I was like, whoa.
I was like, what? You were born in 1998? Like that
He
that
didn't even. He seemed a lot older.
I know. And I didn't even think like 1998 as a year feels like it didn't even exist. You know, it was 1993 and then all of a sudden we're in 2021. I distinct
That's how. That's what it feels like.
I distinctly
I mean, I
remember
do.
2003. I do remember that year.
Yeah, yeah.
But all that to say,
You know.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna go back to like how you were saying like how it was like pretty tense in your
Mhm.
area because of how close you were to New York City. Well, it was super tense because I grew up in a military like
Mhm.
town. Like
Mhm.
I was right next to a military base, and I was right where I lived. Was right next to the CIA headquarters in Virginia, and I was right next to the Marine Corps headquarters, and the Pentagon's in Virginia too. Well, the
Mhm.
Pentagon's in Virginia as well too. So it was kind of Virginia, all of the east of Virginia with all the military bases. Were kind of just like, so it was pretty crazy.
Well, certainly, well, with that in mind, it's the craziest part is that there's an entire generation of kids, I think we call them Gen Z, um, who have been alive for the same amount of time that we've been in war. Like they have not been alive during a time where the U.S. hasn't been in active combat in another country. And so finally, for the first time, here we are. Which, just to remind everyone, viewers at home, that, you know, this has nothing to do, I mean, like, this has a lot to do with President Joe Biden. However, this whole entire situation, like the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, was something that was started by Donald J. Trump. Like, he was the one who signed the order. Lest we forget. Like, it was his doing. And he signed the order, and there was nothing that, like, truthfully, there was nothing that Joe Biden could do to stop it from happening. You know, like, it was going to happen regardless of intervention. Like, regardless. This is not me saying that, like, we shouldn't have withdrawn. We shouldn't even have been over there. To begin with. Like, for what? For what? I mean, like, oil prices were decent in the time afterwards. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But, you know. That's all I'm going to say about that. But continuing to speak about 9/11, you know, while we had that moment of silence yesterday, and then what was the song that played right after? It was a country song, and it was something about it's America, it's a high school prom, it's a Springsteen song, it's a night in a Chevrolet. You know that one?
Yeah.
And it made me think of this. I don't remember if it was an actual study or just like one of those quick Tumblr posts, but of the country music. There was a shift in country music post 9/11 that, like, no other genre of music had experienced. Let me pull up.
Wait, are you talking about "It's America" from by Rodney Atkins?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I was like, wait. Which one?
Oh yeah.
I don't
Okay.
remember. I don't think I actually danced to that one.
I did.
I think I sat out. I think I sat out that dance.
I danced.
Because I was like, I don't feel like dancing after a moment of silence.
I danced to it, and was talking to one of our students about it because she brought it up. And, you know, a student that I was talking to, she's a very, 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 very educated, like, super smart woman, and had made the comment about, like, she hates modern country, or she specifically said, God, I hate country music, especially country music like post 9/11, because it's all the same exact like pro-America jingoist nonsense.
You know what? A lot of that makes me think, because you know how like the CIA has a big hand on like media and stuff in like the United States that happens like during the war or during just any time. Part of me is just like, yeah, a lot of I wonder how much money was being paid to those artists so they could write that type of music.
Oh, here's a really interesting article from the Rolling Stone. It's titled "Country Music Embraced Jingoism After 9/11. It's finally moving on." Like, we're finally going to a spot where we're like beyond that whole feeling of like, woo, go America sort of deal. Songs like "Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue" and "Have You Forgotten" defined post 9/11 country music, but it's a different type of patriotism now, says one radio programmer. Something blah, 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 blah. We wanted a fifth grader to be able to hear the song and know exactly what it was talking about, said Wolver Worley, who co-wrote Have You Forgotten with fellow Tennessee songwriter Wynn Varble. I have no idea who these people are. Upon its release in 2003, it spent 7 weeks atop the Billboard country song charts, reinforcing what, by that point, radio programmers labeled label heads in Nashville stars already knew in the days, weeks, and years following 9/11, the public was hungry for patriotic country music. 20 years later, country fans, radio stations, some of the artists who sang them hold on to the patriotic and sometimes jingoistic songs that spring up after 9/11, even after the idea of patriotism itself has changed. So there you go. I will link this article in the description for everybody a watch-in, because it's actually pretty interesting. So make sure you read it, check it out, from the Rolling Stone. Who also, the Rolling Stone and let's see, what's the other one? Like Teen Vogue. If y'all haven't gotten into those magazines, like, you need to get into it, because they are on like next level. They are in the stage of their publishing where they're like, we're sick and tired of people, like sick and tired of the shit. Like, y'all need to get into this.
Yeah. I mean, I usually go and read their through their articles. I read maybe half of it, and then skim through it, and then get the general idea, and then like when I talk about it later, probably like get something wrong about it. But yeah, I hit up their article.
Yes, like, I'm surprised Teen Vogue hasn't hopped on at some point and said like, "Hello, comrade." Like, they're going like deep. They are about the fall of capitalism, like hardcore, and I'm here for it. So yeah, so that's fun.
Super fun. Sorry, it's hard. It's a little hard to hear. But
that's okay. Yeah.
As the sun goes down, like they're getting. I'm sorry.
It's for real.
Just there's some parties going on outside.
What is even happening?
Block party. It's like a block party that's going on outside.
And you weren't invited?
I live in East Boston. I know, right? But
wow.
No, it's open to the public, and I'm not sure what exactly it's called, but it's like a community festival out here in East Boston. And there's a lot of since East Boston is primarily Hispanic, there's a lot of nice salsa music playing right now, and merengue and some nice cumbia as well. Cumbia right here. So
I'm looking up to see like what is actually happening out there, but I don't see anything. Hold on. What's today? Today's 9/12.
Then the 12th.
It looks like. Nope. I don't know. It looks like it's just something that's happening. So that's fun. They were playing some Mark Anthony.
Wait, is it Eastie Week?
No, that's in July.
That's in July.
Yeah. Well, y'all, if there's if anybody knows what's actually happening in East Boston, feel free to leave it in the chat. Our friend in the Twitch chat says there's an unfortunate double standard where the more activist a paper becomes, the more it gets disregarded as being a fair source of information unless it leans to the right. That is facts. I truthfully, as much as I want to be I'm a very open-minded person. I'm willing to hear both sides of the argument, but it's going to take a lot for you to convince me to change my mind on certain subjects. Speaking of, okay, so because all of a sudden thought about this and I just got very mad. I got very, very upset. Let's talk about it. Okay, so we're going to talk real quickly about, speaking of nonsense people and people waking up to choosing to be stupid and dumb and slow all on the same day. We're going to talk about the nonsense that is happening down in mostly in Texas. We're going to talk about Texas because let me say something straight up. Just straight up. If you are a man, you identify as I don't want to say if you identify as a man because that's a whole nother subject. But if you are male, period, you do not get to have an opinion in the conversation surrounding abortion at all. Unless, and let me clarify, unless you are in a relationship with somebody who's planning on having a child. If you are planning on having a child with someone, then that conversation can happen. But only with the person that you're planning on having a child with.
The child with.
And even then, more weight needs to be given to the woman who's carrying the child, strictly because she is the one carrying the child. Period. Period, poo. So, unless you are planning on having a child with another human, you don't get to say shit at all. Take whatever thought, idea it is that you have about, what you believe is right or wrong or ethical or whatever, and you can take that and shove it, because it is not your body. You do not get to make those decisions for people at all. So
it's crazy that we're having conversations like this.
I mean, like, we already know that men are like trash, just as a concept. But, like, why do we have to continue to, like, showcase that fact? Like, why do we have to showcase that? And then, and this is the other part that, like, annoys the shit out of me, right? So, like, I can understand, like, the concept of being pro-life. I can understand that concept, right? Like, inherently, like, there is an underlying quality of good to that thought process. However, there is no follow-through. Right? It confuses me, the desire to claim that you are pro-life and say that, like, life starts at conception, which, debatable. A lot, largely, wildly debatable. But then, as soon as the child is given birth, as soon as the child is birthed, to suddenly go from you suddenly switch from being pro-life to pro-infant or pro-fetus. That's it. Right? Like, all of these pro-life advocates are simultaneously against things like, universal childcare. Universal basic incomes, which would ensure that the infant mortality rate decreases, particularly amongst women of color. They are against social programs that would, social programs are like paid parental leave, paid maternity leaves, things along those lines that would actually allow this fetus that you cared so much about while it was in the womb, that would ensure that it would have a healthy start. You're against social programs like Head Start because, that's just a liberal propaganda machine. And why should I pay for another person's child to go get an education and have daycare? You're against public schooling, and you're against programs set in place to ensure the well-being and safety of children. So are you really pro-life, or are you just like a religious fanatic who doesn't know what the hell you're talking about? Explain. I said what I said.
It's because they're scared of socialism. Half of the reason why.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they don't even know what the hell socialism is.
Exactly.
Like, unless you can look me square in the eye, dead in the eyes, and say socialism is blah, 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 blah. It's an economic system whereby the government provides provides funding for many social structures and safety nets for the common good of people. That's all socialism is. So things such as like public roads, public housing, public schools, anything with the word public in front of it, public parks, sewer systems, water, things along those lines. Those are all social projects. But social security.
Working hard. Like, okay, so a lot of people on my Facebook, they're always like, you should work hard and earn it, because that's the American dream. I get it.
For who?
I get it, but like, you know what? Like, I've been working hard for a long time, and there's a lot of families and a lot of people who are way ahead of me. You know why? Because they're way ahead of me. No matter how hard I'm gonna work.
The dead ass. And I think the thing that incenses me about this whole entire thing is that they're like the sheer amount of selfishness that goes into making these decisions to cut social programs. Like there was a story recently where I think it was in Indiana, of course, or Ohio or something along those lines, where or maybe it was Michigan. It was one of those like central states, right? Wherein I think it was like the governor of the state or someone in government, in one of the government positions who could actually like sign laws, denied or like didn't approve a bill that would provide free lunches to all children in the state. Because his claim is that the free lunch program spoils children. So imagine looking all families in the eyes, any and all families, and say, no, we're not going to provide any of your children free meals at all because it's going to spoil your children. Some of the families are going to be like, it's no skin off of our nose because we can provide for our children anyway. Give two shits. Majority of those families are white. But then all of the, lower middle, lower income families who are barely scraping by are now up shit creek without a paddle. Systemic racism and systemic blocking for advancement in child education. We can go into an entire conversation about, the things that are necessary for children to succeed in school. Having 3 square meals a day, especially early on in adolescence, is one of the most essential things that children need in order to become successful and productive humans. But you're basically just giving like a huge fuck you to all of these families because he wants to, in some weird kind of masochistic way, maintain the status quo because it's going to, quote, spoil children. Truthfully, as a child, I don't care where my meal came from. I'm very grateful for the fact that my mother was able to provide meals from us courtesy of the restaurant that she owned. But if it weren't for her restaurant, we wouldn't have anything to eat at all. If it weren't for reduced or free meals, we wouldn't have had anything to eat. So, and were my friends who were well off, were they jealous of the fact that I got free meals? Absolutely. They were like, shit, we wish we could get in on that. Because let me tell you, pizza day, banging. Chicken patty day, banging. Macaroni and cheese day, sorry Gary, I know you're lactose intolerant, banging. So don't come at me with this nonsense that it's going to spoil children. I think it just, people are so disconnected from the concept of what is A, what is socialism, and B, what is what is good for people, and what is just good, generally speaking, that they're unable or incapable of, I guess, doing the right thing. I just said a whole lot. I obviously have a whole lot to say about this subject. It pisses me off. I just get so mad. I'm
There's
incensed.
a whole lot to say about the subject, so I mean, I'm right there with you.
This is probably gonna have to be a two-parter, but it is that time, y'all. We are at the end of today's episode. I know I said a whole lot, and you got to stare at Gary's face, so thank God he's good looking. But I didn't say this before because I completely forgot. Oh my gosh, I forgot to set things up. Of course, good job, me. But we are, hashtag not sponsored today at all because I couldn't come up with something to. Oh, there we go. I couldn't find something, some cause that I felt not worthy, but couldn't come up with something. So a huge shout out to our Patreons who have been so huge and helpful as far as supporting us and everything that we do. Make sure you check out our Patreon, patreon.com/next2thefloor. Thanks a bunch to everyone who's helped out. You're all fabulous, fantastic, whatever. Just to keep you guys updated, the next couple of episodes are going to be probably more like video montages of some different things that are happening in our lives. Just because woefully the next 2.5 months are incredibly busy. So I think the timing of our next episode, Gary and I will both be down in the Wild Wild West, also known as Florida. Risking life and limb and lungs for dancing. So we're gonna.
But we're vaccinated, so
yes.
You know what? We're vaccinated.
And we're masking. Vaccin' and masking.
Vaccin' and masking.
So, it's in Florida. I know. Gag with a spoon. But we're working on getting some, sweet vids of us dancing. Gary and I, we finally got through all of our routines today with varying degrees of proficiency.
Minimal screw-ups.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say minimal. I would just say minimal screw-ups for where we are currently in the process. So that's good. Good news, everyone. We have routines. So stay tuned on that end to see stuff on that. Sometime in October, we're going to be playing Back for Blood. So check in on that. It's a horror movie, ooky spooky time. It's the best time of the year, truthfully. Remember, if you're a dude, a bro, if you are a man, or I guess if you're male, you just shut up. Just shut up. I'm just gonna tell men, shut up. This is not your fight. Shut up. It is not for you to decide. Fortunately, there are a couple of rulings that have happened in the past, and also the Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas. Imagine suing an entire state. I love that journey for us. But hopefully, they do the right thing and overturn this shitstorm. And then Governor Abbott can suck on an egg and kick every single rock while doing it. And then Ron DeSantis can also take a long walk off a short pier. So that's today's episode of Next to the Floor. Thank you so much for being here. Gary, as always, you're the best. Check out therockdance.com. Other side, Gary. There you go. Check out therockdance.com. This is our friend Bjorn's dance company. He just filed to become, I think, an LLC. So that's really exciting. Remember, Black Lives Matter, period. It's not a question. It's a statement. Like, Black Lives Matter, just period. We love you. We like you a lot. You're our person. And it costs you $0 to be a good guy. Right, Gary?
All right. Zero.
Zero. It also costs you $0 to follow us on Facebook.
Vaccinated.
It costs you $0 to get vaccinated. It costs you $0 to follow _good_guy Gary on Instagram. Follow all of our socials. They're right down here. We've got a Facebook. We have a Twitch. We have a YouTube's. And Dante, those pants that you won all the way back in February are finally shipping to you. So hooray. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you next time on Next to the Floor. Goodbye. Wow. Bye. Goodbye now. Bye. Goodbye. 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 Bye.